My cat is afraid of vacuums and my cat is scared of outside. I just hold him in my arms. He sees someone, he scratches everything in his way and tries to keep out. So really good observation. You identified that your cat's afraid, right? By first off, you probably saw their body language, like eyes were dilated. The cat was actively trying to fight or flight, right? Flight, get away, because cats don't like conflict, bless their souls. They just want to run and hide. But if your cat's afraid of something, whether it's a vacuum or outside, the last thing you should do is present them in front of it. So that's a common misconception. Just like with humans, we're like, let's just throw them. Like I was thrown on a roller coaster when I was younger because of peer pressure. And guess what? I hate them even more now. So we call it flooding, but it basically means push it, like whatever the human or animal is afraid of, we introduce it to them full force. So you're afraid of this vacuum? I'm going to hold you so you can't escape. You have no choice. You can't get away, which is also not great. That's already kind of setting up that cat to not, like, you're going to just handle it. And unfortunately, that's not how that works, right? Fear doesn't work like that. You can't just say, get over it. So when you're exposing them to what they're afraid of full force, not only in many cases can you make it not, it doesn't help, but it actually makes it worse. So hopefully no one's afraid of spiders, but this is the example I like to use because I care about my humans too. But if you were afraid of spiders, right? And I threw you in a closet or a small room with spiders, not only, guys, are you still going to be afraid of spiders when you get out of that closet, but also you might even generalize that fear that you felt to things that look like spiders. So you're actually making it worse. So for example, if you saw a speck of dust, like a tumbleweed type thing, and it kind of moves like a spider, you're going to feel that same fight or flight response that you feel when you see a spider. So when it comes to your cat being afraid of a vacuum or outside or anything for that matter, I do not recommend forcing them to interact with it. That's a big old, let's skip that because that's flooding, right? And flooding causes more fear and definitely doesn't help the situation. What I would do instead is, as management, which means, hey, this is what we're going to do right away to make things manageable for my cat and make things not worse while we work on addressing behavior concerns, because changing emotional states and behavior take time and usually in some cases need the help of a certified behavior professional like myself or another one in your area. And what I'm going to do is ideally just, like, for example, if your cat's afraid of outside, they're most likely living indoors with you. I would not expose them to outside. So that's realistic. That's management. For the vacuum, I would, for example, not vacuum the downstairs while my cat's down there. I'm going to give my cat some Silvervine or catnip or some kibble, like some treats, or a licky mat, which is like a mat where they eat like churro or something yummy, in another room. And then I'm going to vacuum. I'm going to try to get them as far away from the trigger as possible. Now, when it comes to changing their emotional response, like I want my cat to be okay with the vacuum. That is a little, we have to break that down and identify your cat's trigger. And we have to use something called desensitization instead of flooding. So flooding is, you're afraid, boom, it's right here. Everything's worse now. Poor cat feels like they have to escape because they have no choice. The cat's put in a situation where they're really uncomfortable, and then the poor human might get hurt as well, but the cat's terrified, right? Instead, we're going to do something called desensitization, which is where we identify, because every animal's an individual. So we identify what they're afraid of, like what trigger, like for example, and we identify a non-stressful starting point. So let's say your vacuum is off and laying down. Does your cat exhibit like any signs of stress? If your cats exhibit minimal to no signs of stress, and we would start with the cat at a distance because triggers are better far away, then I would start to maybe give the cat a treat every time they look at the vacuum. And we would gradually move them closer to the vacuum. And while we're also watching their body language, making sure, and this is where behavior professionals need it, because it sounds easy, right? But a lot of people misread their cat's body language, and it can be hard to know, are they scared? Like, are they okay with this? Or a lot of people think their cats are okay with things when they're actually not, and they're flooding instead of using that gradual reintroduction of that thing, pairing it with good stuff at a distance that cat's comfortable with. Because some cats might be cool with the vacuum on the ground, but when it stands up, it's very different. And a lot of people are like, what the heck, kitty? But guys, like a bat over there versus a bat in my hand like this, very different, right? So we have to really meet our cats where they're comfortable and then gradually work up by pairing it with good stuff as well, which is classical counter conditioning. Like you get a treat every time you look at the vacuum at a distance, and we start with the vacuum off and on its side. Then we work up to just vacuum sounds, like on a CD or something at a low rate, and then we start pairing them and so forth and so forth. But that's how I handle a lot of cats that are fearful.